to see how this goes. Right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen and I'm going to go through some background information before we start. I think everyone can hear me okay, right? Hope so. Okay, good, because that would be a bit weird if you couldn't hear my presentation and I gave it anyway. All right. Okay, so today I'm going to be telling you about creating some corpus-based materials. And I'm going to start with first explaining what corpora are and just how I created some of the worksheets. Then we're going to do some audience participation. So I'm going to show you a few examples, and then I want to give you a chance to try to do some things on your own. The first time I'm doing this, so hopefully that one goes well. And later, I'm going to give you access to these slides because they're also up on Google Slides. And I'll give you access to another worksheet I did at another conference so you can see some more examples. Right, so first, just kind of start off with what are corpora. So there are many definitions, but let's go with this one. A corpus is a large principled collection of naturally occurring examples of language stored electronically. So these days, thankfully, corpora are done electronically instead of by hand, which was how they used to be. It's pretty much you can make a corpus of anything. There's a Harry Potter corpus, there's a coronavirus corpus, whatever you want. It's just a bunch of sentences, pretty much. Electronic corpora are really easy to search, so you can find trends, you can compare words, etc. The only problem with corpora is they cannot analyze themselves. So it's necessary to know what to look for, the patterns, how you can analyze things, etc. If anyone has any questions as we go along, you can just say something. It might be hard for me to check the chat at the same time. Okay, how can corpora be used? They can be used to help students better understand how to correctly use different elements of language, like to check collocations. A collocation is just what two words go together, like verb-adjective combinations. So for example, in English, you have to, take a shower or take a bath or take medicine. So the collocation is take plus the noun. But in Japanese, I'm in Japan, by the way, it would be kusuri o nande, meaning drink medicine. So there's differences in collocations between different languages. And you can check for connotations. So is this a positive word? Is it a negative word? You can check for grammatical patterns, like if you use while, do you use an ing or do you use an ed form? You can see when and where the word is used. So if your students are doing academic writing like my students, they want to see if the word is academic or not. And also, you can use it as a kind of discovery activity. So if you want to introduce new words to your students, you can use different concordance lines, which are just sentences, to kind of have the students discover and guess the meaning, right? Also, you can create very specific word lists for ESP, so English for specific purposes, or for your class. All right, so here are some studies talking about using corpora as language tools. So Cobb said that he studied people to see which was better, if you used a definition, like a straight out definition, or if you used kind of example sentences. And he found that it's pretty much equal, but concordance lines actually lead to less decay over time. So students have more retention, possibly through interacting with the material instead of just, looking at the definition and then maybe forgetting it later. Bolton found that learning styles do not significantly affect the ability to work with corpora. So if someone's a visual learner or auditory or more engaging with the material, it doesn't matter, but visual learners were slightly more receptive, probably because it's through visual cues. Bolton found that learners if they have, once again, corpora work better than dictionary only definitions. And the lower level students were able to do better with corpora than the standard dictionary entries. So better at remembering the meanings, better at figuring out what they mean. And one more study I'm going to talk about is called Cobb and Bolton did a meta-analysis to show that corpora can benefit L2 learners' receptive and productive skills for extensive reading and writing tasks for collocations and idioms. So overall, corpora can be used to assist students. It doesn't matter their level. It does work with beginners, but there are certain things you do need to control, and we'll talk about that later. So some tools that you can use with corpora are things called word profilers. I'm not going to go into that too much today because I want to make sure you have time to do things in your group instead of just hearing me talk for 40 minutes. What a profiler is pretty much you can take text and you put it in the profiler and you can see how difficult the words are, like what frequency range. So you can also have example sentences for each of the words. So they're pretty interactive. And there are some that actually work with CEFR levels, CEFR levels as well. The one I'm most familiar with is Analyze Text, which is on englishcorpora.org, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So some things that you want to consider when you're talking, when you're designing these worksheets are, one, you need to think that these worksheets are more designed for discovery for students. So letting them think which words are connected, what do I think is this pattern before they start it. So having them set up hypotheses first, and then having them test it out and then see if they're correct or not. If they're interacting with the material more, there's more of a connection, more of the chance that they're noticing things, and more of a chance that they're actually retaining the information. Instead of, just studying the definition, oh, this is what it means, and then maybe forgetting it after the test. Also, you need to give the students some scaffolding. So when you're creating these materials, you need to kind of manipulate them, maybe through pictures, maybe through putting a correct answer in there, just to kind of let them know what they're supposed to do. So you can't just have them do a corpus search. I tried it already, it doesn't particularly work. And when you're creating the worksheet, obviously you need to think about how advanced, well, you need to think about why you're doing it. So I created these worksheets initially because my students were making a lot of mistakes on our essays. We've done the same essays over the past 3 years in the academic writing and discussion group that class that I teach. And it's always the same ones. So I thought maybe when I'm giving the assignment sheet explaining the essay, I can give them these worksheets to do. So hopefully they don't do these mistakes anymore. And also you need to think about how advanced your students' skills are, and that includes in technology. I'll explain more about that later. So after you have your preface, etc., you need to think about choosing your corpora. So the two corpora that I'm most familiar with are Sketch Engine for Language Learning and the Corpus of Contemporary American English. Englishcorpora.org also has many different corpora, including BNC, etc. I chose the American one because I'm American, pretty much. So with Sketch Engine, some of the benefits are the concordance lines are easier, meaning the sentence examples. They're just easier to read. The interface is a lot simpler. You're going to be experiencing that later. And also you don't need a login, so your students don't need to be tech savvy. They can just go in and that's it. With the corpus, with the COCA corpus, the information is a lot more detailed, so you can get not just a sentence, but you can also get the paragraph where the word was originally found. You can compare, like, if you want to look at American English compared to British English and see what's the difference, you can do that. And it's better for lower frequency words, so words that aren't so common. With the sketch engine, the more difficult words don't really have as much information. You can still find concordance lines, but you wouldn't be able to find like the word sketch or other similar words, right? So, but as I said, Coca gives you more detailed information. So if you are looking at a word like leader, this is from englishcorpora.org. Do I have a laser pointer? No, I don't. Oh, here it is. Hey, laser pointer. Okay, so some information you can get is how frequent the word is. Right, the lower the number, the more frequent the word is. You can also see where it's going to be used. You can see clusters, meaning what words are usually associated with this. Same with collocations. You can get a dictionary definition. You can get the keyword in context, so it'll give you the sentence, your concordance lines, and it's going to highlight them. And you can also see where they're being used. So you can see leader, the bar is the biggest. So it's most often used in news and spoken English as well, and not so often used in TV media, right? You have your definition here, and my, what's it called? My translation things are set for Japanese because I'm teaching in Japan. So you have Lingui, which will show you the most common kanji associated with the word. And it's backed by machine learning, this one. Reversal gives a lot of example sentences translated into Japanese and English. Right, and you also have synonyms. So as I said, Koka gives you a lot more information on the individual words, but it's more for professionals. It's harder to get students to use this one. And another issue you have with Koka is basically it's free. However, a problem that's occurred for me is when I was doing in-person classes before Corona, it looks at your ISP. So if everyone is on the same internet address, it only allows people to do 10 to 15 searches before they have to have a free account and they have to log in. Also, if you have a free account, this message will pop up on occasion. And I'm not sure how tech savvy your students are, but mine aren't so much. So some of them panic when they see this message and go, I can't do the Corpus search. So you have to tell them to just wait a minute and then click the button. So that can take up a bit of time in class. So next I'm going to talk about how I made the worksheets. So first I did a needs analysis. As I said, I was looking at the essays over time. So the course I teach is taught 2 times a year, and every year, same mistakes. Touch culture, widen horizons for the expository essay. I think alien culture came up once, which is a bit odd to me. So these same mistakes kept coming up again and again. So I thought, what do I need? I need to do collocate searches. I need to show them how to use these words effectively, correctly. When you're doing these searches, you need to do everything ahead of time, especially for the Coca corpus, because if people are searching for the same word at the same time, and it's a lot of them, it's going to skew the results a bit. So that's another thing to consider when you're deciding which corpus to use. I find taking screenshots is really good, especially if students aren't tech savvy again. Showing them what to do exactly step by step. And also, taking screenshots for yourself as a result, so you know what to expect and you can guide the students to finding the answer. And once again, specific instructions for the searches and what they need to do. It's very important that they're specific and easy to understand. If not, once again, students will panic. Okay, so I'm gonna go over how you can set up some of these activities and what you can do with them. I'm gonna start with Sketch Engine for language learning. I'm gonna go through some of these pretty quickly because, as I said, I'll give you access to these presentation slides. So for example, you can look up collocations. Once again, collocations, I guess, are word neighbors. I think that's the easiest way to explain them. So, take a shower, take a bath, take medicine, take a walk. These are all collocations with take. And you can search for them basically by thinking about grammatical structures. So my students quite often confuse, they use the words refresh my mind instead of clear my mind. Okay. So I can upload my slides via Ventilla, whatever works. Okay, I can use clear, whoop. All right, so instead of refresh my mind, it should be clear my mind, and students can look at adjectives with mind, just because that's how it works, and they would be able to see it's not refresh, it's clear. Right, you can also use walk, modifier plus adverb. So you know where to search. Pretty would be an adjective plus a noun. So you would have them look at the nouns with thought. Okay. For collocation search, you just put things in there and you would look at word sketch. So search and select word sketch and then analyze the results, and that's it. For connotations, what you can do is a type of search like this. Connotations, once again, are kind of the feeling associated with the word. Is it positive? Is it negative? So for example, if we're looking at the word cause, if anyone wants to answer this, you can just open your mics. Do you think cause is associated with positive words or is it associated with negative words?
Negative words?
Negative words. Anyone else think positive?
I'm surprised, but it turns out it's negative words. I never thought about this before. Cool.
Yeah, I thought
exactly.
it would be neutral personally, but yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Nope, it's all negative words, right? Damage, problem, death, harm, loss, injury, disease, pain, controversy. Change is not necessarily negative. It depends on your personality though. But yeah, as you can see, it's always going to be associated with something negative. Well, not always. Well, more commonly associated. So this is by frequency, right? So you can do this type of search. And there are different ways to do it. One, you can do it the way that I showed you here. And another way is you can look up, you can infer the meaning by using sentences. So what I did was look at the word convivial. No, I wouldn't use this as a student, but I'm just guessing quite a few native speakers would be in my presentation. So question for you, looking at these sentences, is convivial positive or negative?
Positive.
But you got to be positive, yeah.
Yep, exactly, it's positive. So kind of a happy type thing, right? And you can see like other words that are associated with it are festive. You can see generous is also a positive word. And here, number 8 would probably be the easiest way to understand the meaning. Let's be convivial, not offensive, meaning let's be nice to each other, I guess.
It's interesting because it's positive, but it definitely seems to be used frequently in comparisons.
Yep. Or used with like two type of words, so adjective, adjectives together.
Yeah.
Yep, you can use it that way as well. And once again, I wouldn't use this word with a student, but as I said, you can also do these type of things on the COCA, but as you can see, it's a bit more advanced. So you can see what's associated, convivial, conversation. So the things in the deeper blue are the ones that have the highest connection, and as the blue fades down, they have less connection as you go. And the good thing about this is if you click it, you'll be able to see the example sentences. So it's more involved. So it's a bit harder for your students to do. Mine have been able to do this. Yeah. Okay. Next, I'm going to be talking about frames a bit. And I'm going to go through the COCA a bit quickly because I think COCA takes a bit of time to get accustomed to. I mean, Mark Davies runs this site and he does put a lot of PDFs on there to show you kind of step-by-step instructions. But to be honest, for me, even with them, I'm still like, why aren't my search results coming up? Why do you keep saying I'm doing the wrong thing? So it takes time, you know. So I'm going to go through them quickly. I'll put my slides on Eventzilla later or whatever works. And by a frame, I mean you can see what goes in between two words. So quite often students might use a word incorrectly between like a frame can be used using what goes between as. So you could see what adjectives would most commonly go between the as comparison. And pretty much it just looks like this. And the bar for the frequency, the higher the number, the more frequent collocation it is. So quite often you'll see as good as high as bad as simple as. So this also lets your students look for trends within the frames. And you can also see the context. So once again, you can see a laser pointer. You can see example sentences. And if you click on this area, you'll be able to see where it came from, including like a block of text, like about a paragraph width. So once again, concordance lines are a bit harder to deal with here. But you can also see when it was used, where it was used, if it was in a magazine. And if it's a magazine, you could see this was in ESPN, you could see the news, etc. So once again, more information. I'm going to go over this one quickly because once again, I want to make sure you have time to experience this for yourselves. And if you're creating ESP lists, you can do a basic search. If you want, you can limit things to more academic or not. Or if you want to use certain sources. So pretty much you put in there, find matching strings, go to matching strings. So I chose for academic words only because I teach academic writing, right? Click on that. And there are PDFs all over the website, really, that help you do this. And I'm sure there are some videos out there as well. So after you do that, you just check, you save your list, you name your list. I named it leadership because it's about leaders. And then choose the words that you want to keep so you can select. There are different views for this. One looks like this and another looks like this. Okay, so mine are all academic. And I can see the article's name and I would be able to see more context if I wanted. And then you go to your list, your Virtualcorpora. And as you can see, once again, PDF, that'll help you with it. And these are associated with the topics that my students usually do their essays on, kind of predetermined. And you could select the nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, noun, nouns, adjective, nouns together. And you can create your own word list like that. So these are the words, these are the adjectives that are usually used to talk about leaders. That's it. Almost said in Bob's your uncle. I don't know why I would. Okay, Corpus, your corpus after you create it, it's also searchable. So you can just choose whatever you want and you can look for trends within it as well. Right, and here, once again, another file that'll help you out. Okay, so I think you've heard me talking about this enough. It's your turn. So I'm gonna stop sharing this screen and I'm gonna put a link in the chat. And it's a bit different than the one that I put up an asset on Eventzilla. This one's a bit different. There's only 2 examples because just wanted to make sure. All right, so there's a link and I'm going to show you what it looks like before I put you into breakout groups and explain what you're supposed to do. So What I want you to do is to choose a leader in your group to kind of go through this and be organized. It's easier if someone shares their screen so you can talk about things together when you're looking at the same thing. It depends. And I want you to go through the examples together and then try to look up your own. This just kind of explains what I did. There's confusion between a few and a little. So what I had students do is to do 2 searches for a few and a little, and then I had them circle the answer. Would it be little people or a few people? Right? And then here is a search talking about the meaning of the word. So hopefully you don't know what the word castigate is, and I want you to look at the lines. Okay? And then I want you to try it yourself, and we'll come back for a debrief. Yeah. Timing, I should have had a longer session. Okay, so I'm gonna put you in breakout groups, see how you go. Yeah. Someone's sending me in the chat. Yeah, so this is a different one than the asset that's in there. All right, so off to breakout groups you go. We'll do this for close to 10 minutes and then I need to have everyone back. And I'll be in the group on occasion if anyone has any questions. All right. Please go to your breakout group. Are you having trouble or you don't want to go to your breakout group? I'm on mute. Okay, no, I'm not. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Gonna treat this like a class. So who knows the answer for number 1? Is it a few people or is it a little people? Gary.
Oh, it's a little people.
No.
No, a few people. A few people. Sorry.
Okay, next question. What's the answer? What does castigate mean?
To
Who-
criticize, Jasmine.
Doesn't.
To criticize someone, but always for something very negative.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
very strong criticism.
Exactly, good. So I'm just gonna share my screen and I'll show you the answers and just kind of wrap things up. I should have left more time for Q&A. Whoops. All right. So the answer is few because you see people is here and you didn't see that with little. And castigate means to reprimand someone severely, and obviously it has a negative connotation. Okay, Conclusion corpora can be useful for beginners, and it allows learners to produce their own hypotheses. So it allows them to test and interact with the material instead of you just giving a definition. This means this. And I don't know about you, but when I'm studying Japanese and when I tried to study Korean, I forget everything after I look at the definition, right? And it's also a targeted focus of words to teach by frequency. So knowing what to teach, which words are connected, etc. Here is references. Here are references. That's it. This is my contact. It's just my first name. And at Waseda, ionian.waseda.jp. I'm going to put these slides up on Eventzilla, adding another asset as well. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's my presentation. I'm 1 minute over. No one's kicking me out yet. So if anyone has any questions, unless someone kicks me out.
Yeah, you might find though that someone else wants to try to come in, and if there's another presentation following, I'm not sure if there is in the same
I
room.
don't know. Is there anyone else?
I can
on
have
the
a look at.
Auxiliary
I'm going to
side?
have a look at the. I'm going to look at the live session to see if there's somebody in this room.
If they're not,
Go ahead and
be
ask
over
questions while we're
on
just.
Discord. If
Okay.
someone wants to talk to me, it's the same picture in my Zoom, my lovely smiling face. I can go over there as well.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the room? I don't want to be rude if someone needs to be there.
The sessions.
Well, I'm going to stop recording because I don't like recording.